And the next presentation is about ethnobotanical studies of woody plant species in Philippines, and it will be given by Anne Frances Buhay. So please, Anne.
Yes, good evening, everyone from the Philippines, and good morning and good afternoon for everyone in the world.
Good day, everyone. I am Anne Frances Buhay, and I am a research associate at the Institute of Biological Sciences at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. On behalf of my co-authors, Dr. Arturo Pasa and Ms. Shaina Figueroa from the Visayas State University, and Dr. Inocencio Buot Jr., UP scientist of UP Los Baños, it's an honor to present to you one of our project outputs entitled Ethnobotanical Study of Woody Plant Species in Lake Danao Forest Landscape, Ormoc, Leyte, Philippines. Ethnobotany is the study of plants and its uses by people of certain locality since time immemorial, and it has been passed on from one generation to another, and it is considered as an ancient knowledge, according to Abe and Otani in 2013. And the ethnobotanical knowledge is integrated in one's culture and way of living. And the human concern on plants is directly related to our or the human's daily survival, such as food, shelter, cure or remedy for ailments or mild sicknesses, cultural beliefs, and protection. And there are many others reasons for humans to collect plants and trees. So the understanding of local uses of plants and vegetation resources would also guide researchers on how to recommend strategies and or in order to prevent overexploitation of our natural resources. And this would also encourage sustainable management of our plant resources. Lake Danao Forest Landscape, or LDFL, is a complex ecological habitat to the diverse flora and fauna. Lake Danao was initially renamed as Lake Danao National Park through the Proclamation Number 1155 in 1998, and it was also declared as a protected area by the Republic Act Number 7586, also known as the National Integrated Protected Area System, or NEPAS Act of 1992. It is managed by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, of the whole Eastern Visayas. There are some diversity assessment studies that have been conducted in Lake Danao Forest Landscape. These studies were from Abayon in 2021 and Patindol in 2003. But the ethnobotanical studies have never been pursued in the locality. The objective of this study is to identify the local uses of the woody plant species found in Lake Danao Forest Landscape. It also aims to identify the conservation status of the species using the updated National List of Threatened Philippine Plants and their categories, or the PNR Administrative Order Number 2017-11, and the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. And lastly, this study also aims to recommend strategies to enhance protection and conservation of woody plant species in Lake Danao Forest Landscape. The location of the study site is here in the Philippines, particularly in the middle region of the country, which is the Visayas region. And we are showing here the location of the Philippines, where we are found at the south of China and in the westernmost part of the Pacific. The study was conducted in the forest landscape surrounding the Lake Danao, located in the municipality of Ormoc, in the province of Leyte in the Visayas region. And Lake Danao Forest Landscape is bordered on the north and east by the Carigara, Haro, and Pastrana, and on the northwest to west by the municipalities of Cananga, Matagog, and Merida, and on the south is Abuara. And The Lake Danao forest landscape is also adjacent and bordered by the suburban to highly urbanized population. In this map, you can see the land cover of Lake Danao forest landscape, and it has a total area of 2,193 hectares, consisting of an intact forest, roughly about 1,316 hectares, or it's about 60% of its total area. And the lake is about 148 hectares, and it is one of the tourist attractions in the protected area. Lake Danao forest landscape is also described to have terrains with lowest elevation of 480 meters above sea level to its highest of about 900 meters above sea level. It is also characterized with gentle sloping intersected by gullies and ravines. Here are some of the photos taken by our research team in Lake Danao Forest Landscape, and we can see here that the landscape is overlooking at the lake and the grassland area. And here at the center photo, we see the tall woody species serving as homes to the diverse flora and fauna. And at the rightmost photos are the pictures of the cultivated areas where we can see small houses of the locals benefiting from the forest ecosystem of the Lake Danao forest landscape. For the pre-data collection, so initially, our partner and research team from the Visayas State University conducted the standard vegetation assessment and was able to establish a total of 42 plots across various land cover types found in the Lake Danao forest landscape, particularly the forest cover, shrubland, and agroforest land. So a nested quadrat of 10 by 10 meters, 5 by 5 meters, and 1 by 1 for the upper canopy, understory, and ground species assessment, respectively. And the species identification and standard forest inventory were conducted. For the upper canopy alone, there were 251 individual trees identified, and 55 of them are unique species that belongs to 34 families. And for the conduct of this ethnobotanical study, the species with the highest frequency of represented family is selected. Data collection was conducted through field observations and interviews of the selected informants. So there are a total of 10 key informants that were selected from the residents of Barangay Danao. The criteria for selecting informants or respondents are: first, they must be resident in or they have been living near the forest landscape, and second, they must be knowledgeable in plant resources and their local uses. Respondents' occupation varied from being a farmer to carpenter and foresters that work for the protection and maintenance of the protected area, and their age range from 27 to 55 years old. The respondents were asked of the selected woody plant species that were surveyed in the study area. The questions included are the common names of the species, either the nationally accepted common name or the names that they were in the use their local dialect. And another important question is which part of the plant was consumed or used and their specific purpose. And there are also questions pertaining to the practices that they apply to conserve the tree species. Now this table shows the summary of the informants' responses on the local uses of the tree species, and most of their responses are used for fuel wood or firewood, followed by timber for construction purposes, particularly for furniture making. And this applies to the Eleucarpus angustifolius or the blue marble, Swietenia macrophylla or mahogany, and the Colloquium luzoniense or natto. It was also specified by one of the informants that they also used dead branches of Colloquium luzoniense, or locally known as natto, as a source of fuel wood. And natto's roots are also used as decoction for mild sickness and is used to ward off evil spirits. Blue marble was specifically mentioned as a source of seedling for tree production, and its fruit is used by children in the locality as toys. The stems and branches of Lithocarpus suliti or ulayan are also used as food for wild boars, and the leaves of the Orchnidae rubescens or lingato are boiled as cure for common mild illnesses. So they do have various uses, and these are the local uses of the community in Lake Danao forest landscape. So here are some of the actual photos and photos from various sources of the 7 woody plant species for the ethnobotanical study, and the photos with the EIDR UPOU UPLB-P1 captions are the actual photos that our team was able to capture in the field. For the floristic composition and assessment of the identified woody plant species, endemicity and the identification of plant species were verified using the International Plant Name Index and the COS Digital Flora. And for the conservation status of the species collected, each species was determined using the updated national list of threatened Philippine plants in their categories of the DENR Administrative Order number 2017-11 and their status in the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. So the global population trend were also noted, and it was identified that Suitinea macrophylla or mahogany is vulnerable based on the IUCN records, and Colloquium luzoniense is recorded as vulnerable for both the national and the global assessment. When it comes to the current conservation status, most of the key informants' response towards collection of this species is no. So 90% of responded that collection is not practiced in the community since it is legislated as a protected area, while 10% of the informants answers is yes. So they still collect resources for timber use. And the common practices also conducted as conservation measure are regular monitoring and patrolling in the protected area of the protected area officers, as well as tree planting activities. And these activities are spearheaded by the DENR, particularly by the Protected Area Management Board members, and followed by the local government units, NGOs, and private sectors. So in conclusion, the selected woody plant species in Lake Danao forest landscape is mostly used as fuel wood or firewood and for construction materials. There are 2 species that were identified as vulnerable, particularly Swietenia macrophylla or mahogany, and it is recorded as vulnerable at the global scale based on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species, while Colloquium luzoniense, or locally known as natto, is both vulnerable at the national as stated by the DAO or DAO 2017-11 and the global assessment of the IUCN. In terms of conservation, regular patrolling and monitoring is conducted in Lake Danao forest landscape. However, consumption of certain species still needs to be strictly regulated. And since the conservation status that was identified is on the global scale, it is recommended to conduct localized conservation strategies and prioritization of woody plant species in LDFL. This will result to enhance site-specific conservation measures that caters to the existing species in the area. On behalf of my co-authors, I would like to express our gratitude to the Project One team and the program Blending of Multimedia Approach and Satoyama Satomi Principles for Building Climate Smart Communities under the Emerging Interdisciplinary Research funded by the University of the Philippines System. We also want to express our thanks to the UP, Open University, and of course to the research team of our partners from the Visayas State University. Here are the references used in this study. That is all. Thank you very much for your kind attention and maraming salamat po.
Thank you, and thank you also for keeping to time so well, so that we have time for a couple of questions or comments. So please either open your microphone or raise your hand if you have any feedback to Anne. I just have one question because I was not familiar with this term you used, for example, for mahogany, the naturalized. So does it mean it's introduced, but it has become part of the in a way natural forest there, or what does the term mean?
Thank you very much, Dr. Pekka. But yeah, to answer the question of the naturalized, yes, mahogany is considered actually as an invasive species or an exotic species here in the Philippines. But through time, they became somehow got used to the climate, and they got we do have many mahogany plantations here in the Philippines now. So they were considered as natural.
Okay.
They are not native or endemic here in the Philippines.
Thank you. And as you actually wrote in the abstract, it's important to improve and strengthen the local participation. So it's very important to this kind of end user or local people's engagement, so that they feel that they have been part of the decision making, and or either their own local representative or authority has been part of the decision making. And I think that's also important in a way to advance the protection and conservation of the resources. Thank you.